Okay, welcome individuals. This is the first tutorial that we will be having. So we will be looking at software development and we will be using C#. So let me just quickly come here. We will be using Visual Studio 2022. And we will just be dealing with using the string data types and the different types of conversions that we can have. Let me just get rid of this one. Let me also get rid of that and also this, and we are going to create a new project. And when you are confronted with this screen, you have to say C# Windows Console, click on the console app, and let's name our project as a string data types. So let me just say string data. Okay, let me just say string data types. Okay, so I will save this on the desktop, leave everything as it is, just press on next, and we will be using .NET 6.0. You can go for .NET 7.0, that's your choice. So let's create the project, and as we wait for the compiler to finish up, one of the most important things that we need to note and understand about using the string data types is that in C# we use the string data types to hold a series of characters. So now that the compiler has finished up, what you will do, you will just come here and erase. And the first thing that we need to do is to create a namespace. So I'll just have a namespace which I will call namespace, and I'll just call this X, please. Let's just call the namespace X. Now remember the opening and the closing curly braces, the opening of your namespace and the end of your namespace. So let's just check the brackets. This is end namespace. Inside of the namespace you have to have a class, so we will just say class. Now let's call this let me just check what we can call this. So let's just say compare names. So the class will be compare names, and the opening and the closing of a class. So let's end our class, and then inside of this class, that's where we will have a static void main, and we will have a string args, good. And then this is the end of our main, so let's just end the main. Very good. So remember what we said that in C# you use the string data type to hold a series of characters. So this is exactly what we are going to do. We are going to create a series of characters and compare the different strings that we can have. The value of a string is expressed within the double quotation marks. This is exactly what we are going to do. So inside of those double quotation marks, that's where the value of your string is held. Okay, so for example, I am going to declare 3 strings, all right, and then we will work on those strings. So when you assign a literal such as a name inside of the double quotation marks, like Samuel, to a string, you can compare the string with another string using the double equal sign or the exclamation and the equal operator, in the same way as you compare numeric or the character values. So for example, let's go and just declare 3 strings. So I would have a string, and I will call this let me just say name1, and I will assign a value to this as let's say Porsche, And then because they will all be strings, I don't have to go again and say string name 2, string name 3. I can just use a comma here and just say name 2, that is equals double quotation mark, let's say Porsche once more. This would be Porsche. And then lastly, let's have a name 3 and assign a value of Samuel. So suppose these are the 3 strings that we have, and from these 3 strings we want to use the different comparison operators that we have in order to investigate whatever that needs to be investigated. So now that we have those 3 names, so what I want us to do with those 3 names is just to say, okay, let's try and use the double equal sign operator and see what would happen. So before we can go into anything, I want us to come here on top of your namespace, and what I want us to have, I just want us to say using static system.console. Good. So that we do not have to every time type in console. It will automatically add that when we want to output something on the console screen. So what I want us to do from here, all I want us to do is to have a write line, is to just have a write line. And from the write line, I want us to say, please compare name 1 worth name 2. Name 2, and tell me what this would be equals to. Okay, let me just use the equal sign and just do this 2. So I'm using placeholders. Remember, when you use placeholders, name 1 will be at position 0, this position 1, and that position 2. So when you use placeholders here, you will be saying, okay, compare at position 0, what do you want to have after this comma? So at position 0, I want to have name 1, and then at position 1, I want to have name 2, and now at position 2, I want to use the double equal sign operator in order to tell me if name 1 when compared to name 2, what could be the result. So I would say name 1 double equal sign name 2. Right. So because I have this equal sign, it would just say compare Porsche with Porsche, and that would be equals to whatever that the comparison would give us as the output. So let me just copy this, enter and paste, and here I want to compare name 1 with name 3, and then we will see what value that we can get. Okay, let me just fix this. This is name 3. Very good. So now we want to see whether the double sign equal operator will return a value, an integer number, or whether it would return an object, or whether it would return a boolean, a true or a false. So we are just trying to investigate what the double equal sign operator will do, because when you use the double equal sign operator, it would compare name 1 with name 2 and return whatever that needs to be returned. So we press Ctrl F5 to run and see how the program will work. So let's just wait a bit for the compiler to finish up and see what we can have. Now, we have compare posh with posh equals true, and compare posh with oh sorry, let me just correct something here. This is name 1, name 2, oh sorry, name 3 here. Okay, sorry, let's run this once more and see what we can get. So control F5 and we have the following. So when we compare posh with posh, it's true because this is exactly the same as that, so it returns a boolean, a true. That is to say, this name is exactly equivalent to that name. And when we compare posh with Samuel, it would return a false because this name here, it's never the same with that name, so it would return a false. So one most important thing that we need to learn from this is that the double equal sign operator always return a boolean. Very important. The double equal sign operator returns a boolean, and if the names matches exactly, it would return a true, and if they do not match, it would return a false. For example, we can come here and write posh with a lowercase and try to run this and see what we can have. So pressing Control F5, we now have a false. Why posh with posh is a false? Because the first letter is capitalized, whereas as the first letter here it's not. So there is no equivalency in terms of these two names, therefore it would return a false. So one thing that we need to learn again from this is that the double equal sign operator is case sensitive. Very, very important. Okay, that's fine. So this is just using the double equal sign operator, but I can, let me just qualify this and just have a right line here and just say using the double sign operator. Let me just do this. Let me just say using the double equal sign operator, just to let whoever who will be maybe viewing our code to see exactly what we were doing. So let me just copy this and paste. Right. So we saw the output the way we just had to see it. So just running for the last time. So we were just using the double equal sign operator, and this is what we had. Okay, so let me just copy this. Let me just copy this and paste, and now we will use not the double equal sign operator, but we will be using the exclamation mark with an equal sign, which is not the not equal sign operator. So what we want to do here is we want to do the following. We want to do this. We want to use this type of an operator and see whether things are the way they should be. Now let me just go back here, capitalize posh once again, and run our code, but I don't want to run this. So let me just comment these 3 lines of code. So Control F5, try to run this. Right, now we are using the not equal sign operator, and we say compare posh with posh is equals to false. Why is it equals to false? Because we said this is not true. Remember, this is what we have. Please be careful. We said posh with posh is not true, and we know that this is true, therefore it would return a false. We know exactly that posh is posh, posh with posh is true, and because we said this is not equal. We said that Posh is not equals to Post, therefore it would say false. Why? Because they are equal. So Posh is in fact equals to Posh, therefore if you say they are not equal, it will return a false because they are equal. But with Posh and Samuel, it would return true because you said that Posh is not the same as Samuel, and this is true because these two names are not equivalent to one another. So this was just the exclamation with the equal sign and then trying to compare the two strings. So those two strings, if you say they are not equal whereas they are equal, it will return a false. But if you are saying the two strings are not equal and in fact they are not, therefore it would say that is true. So this is just us trying to look at the double equal comparison operator. Okay, from there let's now go and try to use the equals method in order to compare the two strings. We have looked at the double equal sign operator. We also looked at the not equal sign comparison operator, and we saw how the two can work. They always return a boolean. The double equal sign operator returns a boolean. The not equal sign comparison operator also returns a boolean. So this is one most important thing that we have looked at. Now I want us now to go and look at the equals method. Now the string class, the equals method requires two string arguments. So this is very important. It requires two string arguments that you place within its parentheses. So we will have the parentheses where we place these two string arguments, which will be separated by a comma. Alright, so let's just go and look into that and see how the equals method also works. So I'm going to just copy this, enter and paste. Now I can't keep on commenting lines like this, so there's a better way to comment, and I would just come here. I will just come here. I will just do this. So I want to just comment this line. All I want to comment. So I just want to comment this bulk of code. So it would comment the entire section of where it begins and where it ends, so that this doesn't run. So this is a more better way of commenting. So here we will be using the equals method. So how does it work? Now we have learned that the equals method, the most important thing that we need to know is that when you use the equals method, you have to come here. After you have had in position 0 name 1, position 1 name 2, then after your comma you have to say string, and you take the one which starts with a capital S, string, and then you make these brackets, and then you insert inside those two arguments, which is name 1. It accepts two parameters, which is name 1 separated by a comma with name 2. And what will happen here? Okay, string dot equals. So this is exactly what you need to do. You need to just say string dot equals, and then inside of your brackets you place your two parameters or arguments, which is name1 and name2, and close that with a bracket. So you can see this matches with that, whereas this one would match with this one. So we will see whether it would return an integer, an object, or a boolean. So the same can transpire for this one. So we would just say string dot equals, and it accepts two arguments, name1 and name3. Let's just close that, and then we are ready to go. So let's try and see using the string dot equals, the equals method operator. Let's just try to find out what it would return. So control F5 and try to run that code. Right, it also returns a boolean, as we can see, using the equals method. So compare Posh with Posh is true, Posh with Samuel is false, and it is also very case sensitive. Let's just verify that. So I'm going to change here and use a small p and try to run this and see what would happen. It's now false because it is case sensitive, even though the two names are the same, but they are never equivalent. The first letter is capitalized in this name, whereas in that name it is not. So it is also case sensitive. So the equals method returns a boolean. Okay, that is fine. So do we have any other methods that we can use? Yes, we have the compare method, which we will also use. So control V. So here we are going to use the compare method. So this is exactly what we are going to use. So I'm going to just come here. Oh, sorry. And then this is exactly what we are going to do. So let's try and check what would happen to the compare method operator. So the string class compare method also requires two arguments, but it returns an integer. When it returns the 0, the two strings are equivalent, that is to say they match with everything, the name. When it returns a positive number, the first string is greater than the second, and when it returns a negative value, the first string is less than the second one. Okay, now that's fine. That is also very fine. So what we will do here, we will just say, okay, so here you just say string dot compare, and then inside of these brackets then it accepts two arguments, which would be name1 and name2, and let's just close that. So this is how you would use the compare string operator. Now remember, it returns if it returns an integer. So if it returns a 0, the two names matches exactly with one another. If it returns a positive, the first string is bigger than the second one, and if it returns a negative, the second string is greater than the second one. Okay, so let's just come to this one again. So we would just say string dot compare, and it accepts two arguments, name1 and name3, and we would just have our bracket there. And now let's try and run this and see what would transpire. So using the compare method operator, so compare Posh with Posh, it now returns a 1. That is to say the first string is bigger than the second one. and now it returns a negative. That is to say, the first string is less than the second one, meaning the second one is bigger than the first one. So how it does this? It uses the alphabetical order of the individual letters that makes up the word. So because it's -1, that is to say, when calculating the individual characters in this name, they are more or they are greater than in Posh. Therefore, it would return a -1. Whereas in this one, because P is capitalized, so therefore this string is bigger than the second string, therefore it would return a 1. Whereas if they were equivalent to one another, it would have returned a 0. Let's just try and check that. So I can just come here. If they are exactly the same as we see in these ones, it would return a 0. So let's just try and run this. So we have a 0. This is to say these two strings are equivalent and they match one another exactly. Alright, that is fine. We can now go and use the last one, which is the compare to operator. So let's just read in theory what this does. So the compare to method also compares two strings. However, one string is used before the dot and the method name, and the second string is placed within the method's parentheses as an argument. Okay, let's try and see what that can do for us. So what I'm going to do is just to come here, just do this, Control V. So now we are going to use the compare to method. Okay, so they say to us what we need to do here is to say, okay, in this one you take the first argument, which is name1, and then you say dot, then you say compare to, then we place the second string inside the brackets, and then this is what we would have. This is exactly how the compare to method works. So the same would happen here. We would have name1 dot compare to, inside of our bracket we would have name3, and then try to check what it would return. So running that, we have the following. We have a 0, so it returns an integer. We know that if it is 0, the two strings matches one another equivalently. If it is -1, the second string is greater than the first one, whereas if it returns a +1, the first string is bigger than the second string. So these were just the three, in fact 4 comparison methods that I wanted us to look at. The double equal sign operator, the not equals operator, the equals method, the compare method, and lastly the compare to method. So this is what I wanted us to just look at and learn, and then I would see you in the next tutorial.